Hey guys, before we jump into today's episode, I want to take a minute and let you know about our February giveaway. There are only about 2 months left until the deadline to file your taxes, and a lot has changed this year with the new tax code. Now, whether you typically file yourself or hire somebody to do it, you want to make sure it gets done right. Well, we want to help you through the process this year, and that's why we're giving away professional tax prep and filing services for 3 people by an enrolled agent on our team. Now, to get in on this, go to yourfinancialpharmacist.com/giveaway and enter by February 15th for your chance to win. That's yourfinancialpharmacist.com/giveaway.
I think that my healthcare background really helps in coaching these clients. It is an emotional and difficult process of addressing each item in your home and each item that you own.
You're listening to the Your Financial Pharmacist podcast, a show all about inspiring you, the pharmacy professional, on your path toward financial freedom. Hi, I'm Tim Church, your Financial Pharmacist team member, and welcome to another edition of the Side Hustle series, where we talk about ways you can create additional streams of income to reach your financial goals faster and highlight pharmacists who are doing this to help you get inspired. On today's episode, I interviewed Dr. Jessica Louie, who is a board-certified critical care pharmacist and assistant professor of pharmacy practice. She's also a multi-passionate entrepreneur with 3 small businesses. She's the CEO of Clarify, Simplify, Align, a high-performance life coach, professional organizer, and certified KonMari consultant. What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 86. Wow, that is just crazy to say that number as we move closer to 100 episodes. Now, I can hardly take any of that credit given the other Tims have done most of the shows. So kudos to them. And also I want to have a big shout out to Caitlin on our team who does our editing and does an excellent job. If you've basically consumed any news or social media in the past couple months, then you know about the show Tidying Up with Marie Kondo. And the show is just everywhere, and it's an incredibly popular series on Netflix right now. But just in case you're in the dark, this show is all about world-renowned tidying expert Marie Kondo helping clients clear out their clutter in their home and choose joy. So what the heck does that have to do with today's episode? Well, our guest today is not only an accomplished pharmacist, but she's one of the few that holds the KonMari consultant certification, which basically allows her to perform in-home and virtual consults similar to what you see Marie Kondo do on the show. So I'm really excited for her to talk more about this and her other business ventures. So let's go ahead and jump into the interview. Jessica, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and for being part of this Side Hustle edition.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
When I sent out the first email alerting the community that we would be talking more about side hustles on the podcast, you were the first one to respond. And I could tell that this was something that you were excited about and wanted to share what you've been doing outside of your full-time job. So before we kind of jump into your businesses and your pharmacist career, I want to know what gets you so fired up about this topic of side hustles and entrepreneurship.
Well, thank you. It was really a life transformation in terms of starting my small businesses 2.5 years ago. And it's definitely been a great learning experience for myself that I really would love to share with other pharmacists and healthcare professionals and students.
That's great. And kind of going back into before you started any of these businesses, where did that inspiration come from where you just decided, hey, I'm going to do something outside of my typical pharmacist job or my duties there?
Well, as I was finishing my residency back in 2015 and transitioning into my role as an assistant professor in pharmacy practice, I was really undergoing a burnout type of episode in healthcare at that moment. And like other busy professionals, I was kind of spinning around this quarter life crisis, accumulating things in terms of, I had been on a long journey of 9 years of training for my bachelor degree, doctorate, residency, PGY1, PGY2 board certification. And I wasn't really enjoying the journey. I was just trying to get to the finish line. And then I realized, how life can be really, really short when my aunt died suddenly at age 51. So now I really like to live with intention and be present by the people I'm surrounded with and the things I'm surrounded with that spark joy. So I really want to share, my story to see if it will help inspire someone else to really transform their own life and really be happy with their day-to-day life.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Jessica. I love what you said there about being intentional and kind of getting the fire started to pursue some of those passions and ideas that you had. And I believe that's so true. And I think that that's one of the most common characteristics of people that have an entrepreneurial spirit is just being intentional about what they're trying to do. And a lot of times we live a life that's reactive instead of proactive. So I think that's really great. So can you talk a little bit about your current role as a pharmacist? You mentioned that you had a long journey and did residency training in order to get there, but talk a little bit about the role that you're in now and what you're doing.
Yes. So right now I am an assistant professor of pharmacy practice at West Coast University School of Pharmacy in Los Angeles. And I am a critical care pharmacist. So I work in the intensive care unit of a local hospital. And, my current role is really divided between the university and my practice site. So this is my 4th year teaching at the School of Pharmacy. And I'm really passionate about teaching critical care topics related to renal, respiratory, and cardiology. And most recently, I'm developing elective courses to focus on well-being, resiliency, and burnout prevention in our graduate students. So that's a passion of mine in the pharmacy world.
So how do you split that up between your teaching responsibilities and your role in the critical care unit?
Currently, I spend a little bit more time at the university. About 70% of my time is at the university. During the semesters, we have 12-week semesters, and we have long winter and summer breaks. And then I'm at the hospital setting 2 days a week usually. And it's a great balance in terms of being there to educate the students and also being there to stay up to date on the healthcare institution.
Great. And can you go into a little bit more detail about what is your day like typically at the hospital?
Typically at the hospital, it's a local community hospital and it's a level 2 trauma center. So we'll usually start where you're going in and working out patients, getting ready for interprofessional rounding in the intensive care unit or with the other medical teams. They do have medical students and medical residents at the institution. And then going on rounds and completing some of the in-person work with the patients with their medication reconciliation, their pain management, and preventative health screenings, and putting in some progress notes, both for the other healthcare professionals and for pass off to the other pharmacists. And during that process, if there are students on rotations, walking them through that process in the morning and then also meeting with them in the afternoon for educational discussions on different topics and different patients, and then also assisting other pharmacists in the setting to see what they need help with.
So it sounds like you're in a very clinical role that's very much participating in direct patient care and working with other healthcare professionals. Would that be true?
Yes, and really trying to see where we can expand service lines, because in California, there's a need for some expansion of service lines in the hospital setting. So working on that right now. We just had a new law passed in California requiring pharmacists to perform the medication reconciliation in the hospital setting. And I know some hospitals are struggling with that new implementation of that law. So seeing where I can help with resources and things like that.
And what would you say are your favorite aspects about your job? I think there's a lot of negativity in our profession, and I think it depends on the setting that you're in and the responsibilities that you're doing. But what do you most enjoy about what you're doing as a pharmacist?
I definitely enjoy the patient interaction and, helping them through the process. I know critical care in the intensive care unit can be an emotional and difficult situation for these patients and their families. And that's one of the reasons why I am part of a new initiative with the Society of Critical Care Medicine to target post-ICU syndrome. So similar to PTSD in our ICU patients and how they transition and how their quality of life changes. So that brings me a lot of joy in terms of trying to give back to these critically ill patients and their families and making sure that they do have the support system even when they're outside of the ICU setting and in transitions of care.
Wow, I think that sounds like a really great program. And I, working in ambulatory care, I didn't know that was even a thing or something that patients were dealing with. So I think that's really a great initiative to kind of get that going and identifying that patient need and looking for ways to integrate into that program. So I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
So you talked about that you're on this long journey. It's taken you 9 years with all of your residency training. Do you feel like it was worth it?
I definitely feel that it was worth it. I think that, it's important to take a step back though and remember that it's not about getting to the destination. It's about enjoying the journey and the experiences. And I think that there are times during that 9-year process where that was definitely forgotten. And if you're familiar with the growth and fixed mindset type of philosophies, it was definitely in this fixed mindset instead of a growth mindset in terms of, doing this, for myself and for my patients. And, just getting back to, why did I really go through this process and what impact do I want to have on patients and the healthcare community and other people? So it definitely was worth it, and I wouldn't change it looking back.
That's so good. And I think you made some really strong points there. And I think that a lot of pharmacists who are on a long journey to get to their career and where they're trying to go is sometimes you can forget a lot of those things that are important along the way. So you talked about at some point you got inspired and you wanted to start pursuing some things beyond pharmacy and really focus on some other passions. So what were some of your main motivations besides, feeling like life is so short and that you really have to be intentional about going after things that you want to do? What were some of your other main motivators?
At that point in my life, I really had achieved the things that I had set out to achieve, and it was time to take on new challenges. I like new challenges and lifelong learning. So I had, a strong passion for helping other women feel confident in how they dressed and their wardrobe choices. And, I started that as, basically my first hobby that I turned into my first small business called Petite Style Script. And, because I like to challenge myself, I wanted to learn how to website design, how to run social media and marketing. So I ran all of that as a solopreneur over the last 2.5 years. And I gained a lot of skill sets that I was able to apply to my other two businesses.
That is so cool. So you really bootstrapped a lot of this, getting it off the ground in terms of, I'm going to learn how to do all of the back end work. I'm going to learn website design. I'm going to do it all. I think that's really cool. And sometimes I think, especially if you don't know where to start, or maybe you're limited with funds and don't want to hire people, that's a great way to get going. So talk a little bit more about Petite Style Script and kind of what that business is all about, and what are some of the services and offerings that are through that business.
So I focused on Petite Style Script at first. My aunt had passed away earlier that year, and she was really a big fan of shoes and handbags and women's fashion. So I wanted to help other women, especially petite sized women, feel confident and empowered by their outfit and wardrobe choices. So it is a fashion and lifestyle blog. And although it has a lot of petite information and also caters to other women. And I've turned it into really being intentional with their outfit choices by creating capsule wardrobes. So that's one of my signature products and services. And then just highlighting really classic style where you're investing in quality over quantity of pieces. So I talk about things that I own and things that I recommend, and sizing and fit, and then how to style things together to really have a classic wardrobe that will last for years to come. So there's a lot of just how-tos and resources on the website that are free for people to read or join the email list to get weekly style advice.
And so what you're selling is actually the advice of style, but not actual wardrobe or physical products. Is that right?
That's correct. So I don't physically make any of the products. I will earn income through affiliate commissions or sponsored content with companies that I really love. So I have a few companies that I've used even from when I was young that I've been able to partner with and really showcase why those companies are great for the environment and, really quality products to offer to my readers.
Can you go into a little bit more detail about affiliate marketing with this business and how you're earning income? Because I think a lot of times, the word affiliate marketing sometimes can have a negative connotation, but I actually think it can be a great way to point people to the right products and services and actually can provide a lot of value.
Yes. So affiliate marketing or affiliate commission is really popular in the fashion blogging world. I learned that early on, both from your website and from your social media. So basically, I'm creating content and articles online, and I'm talking about different products I'm recommending and how to style them together. I'm talking about my sizing that I have purchased, and then I'll link to my outfit or to other items that are similar to my outfit if those items are no longer in season or available online. And then if readers would like to purchase the same item that I'm wearing or a similar item that I'm wearing, they're able to click on the link, and I earn a small affiliate commission when they purchase the item through the website. So I work pretty closely with the Like to Know It to Reward Style affiliate company and a few other companies to really showcase, this is what I personally own and recommend, and I've tried it out, and I'm not necessarily getting paid to try it out. That would be sponsored content, which is different than affiliate income. I have personally purchased the clothing that I'm wearing, and then I'm going to link to it to earn a small commission from you reading the how-to articles.
So I think that's a great point that you put on there, in that you're not just promoting and pumping products and different attire that, anybody could use, or, just something that you find that could earn income. These are actually things that you're recommending to people either because you've tried it out or feel very confident about the product that they're offering.
Yes. And I mean, personally, in my opinion, when I go and buy a product, I like to read a review or see how it fits on someone, especially when it's more difficult to find petite friendly clothing. So it's nice to be able to read someone else's article and honest review besides just seeing a picture of it on Instagram or on Facebook. So that's what I'm trying to provide in longer, 1,000 to 2,000 word blog posts, articles on the website.
And so would you say for that business, is affiliate marketing, is that the main generator of revenue?
Yes, that is the main generator of revenue.
Okay. And then you said there's also some sponsored content. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So sponsored content is when a company will pay for certain content to be promoted either on social media, especially Instagram, or on the blog website. And, those are contracts that we'll make with certain companies that I really feel passionate about promoting. So it's usually companies that I've worn or used for years. So those are companies like Figs scrubs for healthcare professionals, and Aveda hair care products and skincare products, and different things like that. And they will be, if it is a sponsored post, it's clearly marked either in the social media caption or in the blog article as well, to show that it was paid content. But it also, I personally have used it and stand behind the company or the product.
That's great. And I think it's cool way to earn revenue, because you're helping people get to products and services that they need and that they want, and you're providing input from it.
The sponsored content also pays for the production costs of running the website and social media. So there's a lot of effort put into having people find your content. So a lot of SEO optimization. So if you search for a product on Google, it's coming up on Google, Pinterest, and YouTube. So you can find the photos, the videos, and the written words. So that's really, where the sponsored content is helping offset production costs.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you. Where do you find the majority of your customers? Is that organic traffic through Google, or is it through social media?
It definitely is through search engines. So Google is definitely the top one, and then technically Pinterest is a search engine and not a social media platform. So Pinterest is my second most common referral source, and then my third most common is YouTube. YouTube is also a search engine. It's owned by Google. So those are my primary three. So I definitely put a lot of effort into the back end so people can find the content. And then social media, it's nice, but it's really not. I feel like it's more for exposure and for people to digest some content, but then they need to also take an action to get to the website or to get to more information. So that, it's great for exposure and creating community with some of the readers and some of the other bloggers and business owners, but it's a smaller component of a referral source.
I think this business is so cool because it's just way outside the realm of pharmacy. And, I think that's a lot of the stories that I've heard with pharmacists and what they're doing on the side, that yes, there are some things that definitely have a pharmacy twist or relationship, but this one is sort of a little bit outside of that realm. And I think that's really cool. So before we move on to your next business, so I have a question. Is there any intention for men that you're going to create, so that if I need some fashion tips that I can go to?
So currently, no, and not another fashion-focused blogger website. But with my newest business, I do help people simplify their homes and wardrobes. So I don't discriminate against men or women for clients for those coaching sessions. So I can do that more one-on-one or group coaching, but not necessarily full written articles geared towards men.
Okay. So your newest business, and you told me before we jumped on for the recording that this one has really been a result of some of the other things that you've done. And I think this one is also really cool because, again, it's outside of the pharmacy realm, but something that you're passionate about. So talk a little bit about that one.
Yes. So basically, this is my third business. The one in the middle is actually my pharmacy-focused business. But I wouldn't have been able to get to this point in opening, clarify, simplify a line without my experiences with the other two businesses and learning about virtual content and other marketing things. But this business is, to help other busy professionals gain clarity of their purpose, simplify and declutter their home and minds, and align their work into their lives. So work into your life, not the other way around. So we can really avoid some of the overwhelm and burnout that people are feeling and lead with more confidence so that you really build and curate a life that you love. So it's really talking about being more intentional and taking away some of the burnout that a lot of people, I think, are experiencing with the work environments we're exposed to.
So this is kind of has multifaceted business in terms of what you're trying to do to help people. So can you walk through the process of somebody says, Jessica, I want you to help me be less stressed out, and I want you to help me do that and walk through this process, especially with decluttering things. Can you just walk me through what that consult? What would this look like?
So a potential client would schedule a free consultation call. So we'll really get into what are they looking for, what are their goals, and what kind of budget they have in terms of I'll offer either one-on-one in-person coaching or one-on-one virtual coaching, or virtual coaching because they're not local to my area or I don't travel to their area. So I'm based in Los Angeles, and we'll go through that process. And really, overall, it's really about clarifying your why. I was trained with Simon Sinek earlier in 2018, so I used a lot of his philosophies and putting that into actual practice. And then the simplifying part is really up to the client in terms of, do they want to go through the simplifying process in their home? And if they do, I am a certified KonMari consultant. So we're using the KonMari method developed by Marie Kondo. It's a Japanese method to really dig into decluttering the home in an intentional way so that you'll never do it again in your life. And you'll really change your habits and your mindsets around your home environment. And then we'll be able to use those habits and mindsets to then apply to other areas of your life. So that's where aligning your work into your life comes into play, in terms of really addressing a lot of well-being and burnout prevention. And then we'll able to address the habits and mindsets related to community, the people you surround yourself with, and your finances and your healthcare. So that's, the full transformative process. And then if someone is specifically looking more to just do the simplifying the home and professional organizing, we can do that. But I would encourage them to go through the whole process. And I provide either workbooks for them to do it on some of their own time versus me one-on-one coaching them.
So just to clarify, so for the majority of the people that you're assisting in coaching, you're either going to their house or giving them a virtual consultation, and you're literally helping them declutter their home. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So a lot of it is in person in their home, and it's a different way of approaching professional organizing and decluttering because it's really going to be a lifestyle change and really intentional. So then if people live outside of my service areas, such as Los Angeles, Salt Lake City, or Milwaukee, Wisconsin, then I'm doing more online virtual coaching through that process. And I really focus on the home first because I think that once you address what's closest to you, which is your home, then you're more easily able to address other aspects of your life.
And how did you develop an interest in doing that?
That's a good question. So I read Marie Kondo's books back in 2015, and I applied the method to my own home. So she has some very popular books called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up and Spark Joy. And, she goes through a category by category type process of organizing your home instead of a room by room or little by little type of process. And then I was able to help my friends and family go through the process as well. And I learned about her official certification system and was officially certified this year. And there's only about a handful of certified consultants in different areas of the United States. So about 100 or 120 certified consultants in the US at the moment. So I really love the process, but I also think that it's more than just the KonMari method. And that's why I like to bring in Simon Sinek's philosophy and then work-life alignment in my philosophy as well.
So what do you have to do to become certified?
So the certification process for the KonMari method, starts with yourself. So you're going through the process yourself. You're making sure that you have completed the entire process. The process, is very individualized, but it usually takes 1 month to 6 months for people to complete the 5 categories in their own home. And then you're going to a training program. You're working with individual clients as practice clients, basically taking an examination and then getting officially certified.
So they don't just hand them out to everybody, it sounds like.
No, not just anyone.
So I have to ask this question because I'm just thinking in the back of my head that, I've seen many episodes of Hoarders and, everyone has their own way and own system of organizing. And sometimes there is no system. But have you had any, cases basically where you're like, wow, like you were just overwhelmed at what you had to do to help them in their situation?
So I haven't experienced with my clients, particularly with being diagnosed hoarders per se, but I know everyone's home environments are different. So that's why it's really important that they really trust me to invite me into their home. And, I think that my healthcare background really helps in coaching these clients. It is an emotional and difficult process of addressing each item in your home and each item that you own, especially when we go through the last category of sentimental items and photos and things like that. So I think that, with my healthcare background, I am able to help them process, especially with my work with intensive care unit patients and their trauma that they've gone through. So it definitely, is very personal to the client. And that's why I really enjoy working one-on-one in person if possible.
And what do you typically charge for someone to do one of these consultations? And is that a one-time consult or is that an ongoing process?
So the first consultation is free. So that's a 15 to 30 minute phone call, maybe video chat, depending on the person. And then, it really is based on their own budget in terms of, you're going to invest in this once in your lifetime, in my opinion. I actually would prefer you never rehire me for the KonMari method portion of our coaching, at least, because no one rebounds after going through the KonMari method. You organize your home once and for all, and then you keep, the habits and the mindsets have changed so that you don't reaccumulate the clutter. So it really depends on the home size and how many people are in the home. So we work one-on-one. So if it's a family, I'd work one-on-one with each person in the family, or I would teach the parents to help the children. But I do work with children as young as 4 years old. And most sessions are about $500 per session. And then usually people invest in the packages to really commit themselves to transforming their life. So throughout the process, usually I'm able to help them then, recoup a lot of that money they invested in the package with me, because they're able to resell items that no longer spark joy. And I'm able to help them work through the consignment, resale, donation, environmentally sustainable process of discarding the items. And then it takes usually 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months for people to get through the process. And depending on the budget, then they're able to also do work on their own. So, doing a little bit of homework in between our sessions together. So let's say we finish most of someone's clothing category, but we haven't finished their shoes. Then they're able to go through their shoes on their own time. And then the next session, we get together and tackle books and papers. Those are the next 2 categories. So then for papers, I really encourage a lot of digitizing of papers. So then they're able to digitize things on their own time, not necessarily with me there. It kind of depends on the client then of how much time we're one-on-one spending together. But usually the entire process takes anywhere between 20 and 50 hours.
Wow. And what kind of feedback do you get from people after they complete the session and kind of go through the program?
Usually people are so surprised in terms of how much we get done during the sessions. and how much of a transformation it is because they've maybe either worked with other professional organizers before or tried to purge and do spring cleaning every year before, and nothing ever stuck because, their closets just reaccumulated things, or their attics or garages. Here in Los Angeles, there's very few people that actually park their cars in their garage. And I grew up in the Midwest, and, I always thought, it's unfortunate that you're not actually using your garage space so that you're protecting your cars and other items. And so basically, the transformation that they feel is pretty significant because a lot of these times the clients have tried going through the process themselves, purging, decluttering, going through the KonMari method after reading the books, but they don't have an accountability partner. They don't have emotional and physical support. So as their coach, I'm facilitating that process to make sure they're keeping accountable, to working through all the categories and setting an end date of when we're going to finish this, because this is not a lifelong process. This is, there's an end goal in mind and a vision in mind so they can get to that step. So a lot of times when people DIY this, it might take them 1, 2, or 3 years to finish the process. And we definitely decrease the time commitment that is required.
And you mentioned that, obviously decluttering, getting organized is a big part of the process, but it's not the only thing that you're doing and what you're trying to help people accomplish.
Right. I think that it's a big component of everything, but if someone really is not committed to the process or not ready for that process, that's okay. We don't want to ever force anyone to go through the process. So a lot of times when I'm working with couples, one person is more committed than the other. And, the other person will just see the transformation in the client and maybe be willing to start their own transformation a few months later or a few years later. It's really up to them. But I think it's still important to be able to go through the other steps, like clarifying your why and aligning your work into your life if you're not ready to do the simplifying in your home environment.
I know that I feel amazing when my space is decluttered, clean, whether I'm at work or I'm at home, and my wife probably to the next level. Like she uses it as almost like a therapy session when she's cleaning and doing things. So what would you say to somebody that says, they ask you, well, Jessica, what kind of benefits and what's going to happen in my life if I get my house in order? What can I expect, or why should I do this other than just to get organized?
So, there's been a lot of research in terms of, how your space affects your well-being and how many people have anxiety related to their clutter, right? Because basically anything that you're seeing, anything that you're consuming, via social media or other environments is something that you have to process. And I call it closing the files, in terms of you have to be able to close the files in some of those things. But basically, people are really gaining more time to focus on what matters most to them, because technically everything that you own needs to be taken care of. So that means either, physically taken care of or clean and things. So usually you free up more time to really focus and, have more intention in your daily activities. You also free up your mind to live more in the moment, to be present. And I really think it creates, more calmness and peaceful environments. And it really changes your mindset about things versus experiences. So creating experiences and memories together instead of buying a lot of things and gifts and physical items, because when we're older and we're on our deathbed, no one ever says, oh, I wish I owned more things. They always say, I wish I spent more time with this person, or I wish I would have done this. And they have some regrets. So really focusing on, let's not have those regrets later in life. Let's do those things now and, live life to the fullest. And then one of the big things I really focus on is increasing confidence in your decision-making skills, because throughout the process, you don't really necessarily, when you start, you don't really necessarily know what really speaks to your heart, what sparks joy. But as you go through the process, you really build your confidence of, I know I want to keep this. I know that I love this item. And then you're able to apply that habit and that mindset to having confidence in your day-to-day life, interacting with people, taking control of your healthcare, taking control of your finances. So those are some of the things that help people during this transformative process.
Wow. I'm just so fascinated by this, and I love it. And I'm sitting here on the other end, and I think it's funny that as you're talking about this transformation and the decluttering, like I'm already feeling like relaxed, like as you're talking and going through it. So I can only imagine that if you're someone that is doing the full process, getting the full makeover, what the benefits could come about from that. So I just think that is so cool. Now, can you talk a little bit about the income that you're earning from this business and from your other businesses? And, without even getting into specifics, just generally speaking, what kind of income are you bringing in from that?
So this business is a little bit newer. This was created in July of 2018. So right now, I'm earning 5 figures, and the goal in the next 12 months is to be earning in the 6-figure range and growing the business both locally in my local area, Southern California, and also online with some virtual sessions to really reach. I think that the online environment is great because it really reaches beyond your local network or the classroom and things like that. So those are my goals moving forward.
And how do you allocate the additional money that you're bringing in from the businesses? Where's it going?
So it really is going, basically to savings. So I paid off all of my student debt a little bit less than 3 years out of school. So I paid that off back in early 2016, and I was able to make some investments. So my family was closer and living closer to me. And now it's really just saving for the future and for possible investments in the future in terms of more traveling. I didn't really travel very much during my training process. So there's been a lot more travel recently, and more plans to go to Tokyo, where the KonMari method was founded, and other travel experiences. So really creating more memories and time together with people that I really love.
That is so cool. I really like that. I mean, congratulations, by the way, on paying off your student loans. I think that is awesome as well. And actually, just a side note on that, do you think that not having student loans, which a lot of people are struggling with even for 10, 15 years post-graduation and even longer, that not having that on your plate has allowed you to take more risks as an entrepreneur, but just to be explore more and be willing to invest more in these businesses?
I think it definitely has helped in terms of I had a little bit over 50,000 in loans to pay off, and I was very intentional with that during residency and then right outside of residency. And I was also very fortunate with not accumulating $100 or $200 or $300,000 worth of loans. I think that the environment now with student loans has changed a lot in terms of it's really easy to get the money, but it's really difficult to know how much the interest is compounding and all that stuff. So
right.
Overall, it's definitely helped me invest more into my businesses because I have those funds. I don't go into debt at all with investing in my business. And I've been able to invest in business coaches to help me along the way as well. So it definitely helps in terms of you need to make the investment. So it's not just a hobby. It is a small business, and you're really leading it as a small business then.
Now, I think a lot of people are listening to all of these businesses and things that you're doing while you're a professor and working as a critical care pharmacist. How the heck do you manage all of this?
So honestly, Tim, it was difficult in the beginning, but I was also think about, I was, a year out of residency, and during residency, I was at a great program, but I was also spending 80 to 100 hours a week in the hospital. And that was because I was really involved in research processes and other things. So I was spending extra time that, wasn't required of me to be there. So I was already in the mindset of, I don't have to work 40-hour weeks. I can work 80-hour weeks and things like that. So that, really helped me in the beginning of my first business to, really dive deep into the learning process of the technology and the back end things. So, I didn't think I was working that much, because that was kind of normal. And I was almost bored if I wasn't doing something that was challenging me, right? And then I also have a partner who's also in medical training and working quite often and paying down his medical student loans. So, I think that if you have a partner that also stays busy and, is working to achieve their visions, it really helps for your support system to know that you're both working towards your end goals and your visions and growing your careers. But overall, since that time, I've definitely been a lot more intentional about how I run my businesses and have been able to automate things and just also learn, what's important. So, for example, recently in 2018, I built up a pretty strong Instagram and social media following, but it wasn't really a passion of mine anymore, and it wasn't attracting my ideal clients. So I stopped posting on Instagram. And has that affected my business? No. Like it's nice to connect with people on social media, but sometimes you have to take breaks and put boundaries about your time commitment to things that aren't actually bringing in return on investment.
And how many hours now are you typically spending on your businesses?
I would say, 25 to 35 hours a week. It really depends on how many clients are scheduled during that week, because I'm seeing clients in person locally, either at night, in the evenings, after work, or on weekends. And so it depends on how many of those clients are scheduled. And then I'm doing some of the technology in terms of posting. I like to batch things out. I highly recommend if you do have an online business that you batch things out. So in 2018, I've been doing a little bit more videos. So I recorded all my videos for fall in 2 days in August. So I think that if you're really intentional about when you're working on your business versus working in your business, how much time you commit to each of those and your strategy behind that.
So it sounds like it's much more manageable now in terms of balancing your job as a pharmacist and what you're trying to accomplish in your businesses.
Definitely. I think that at the beginning, and I think this happens with a lot of entrepreneurs, you want to do all the things and you want to, grow your Instagram, grow your LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, everything all at once. And then you kind of learn that, that's kind of sets you up for some burnout and exhaustion. And now I've learned, let's really focus on what matters most, what will have some return, and what also is enjoyable. So, and then when you're at a point where you can outsource things and automate things, I would recommend that so that you're using your skill sets to their fullest potential when you get to that stage.
Well, Jessica, you have shared some awesome points about entrepreneurship and what you're doing in your business. What advice in general would you give to other pharmacists and even students out there who have an interest in becoming an entrepreneur, maybe instead of or even in addition to their role as a pharmacist?
I would definitely recommend following a passion, gaining clarity of what you really want, setting your ideal lifestyle of how you want to live your life day to day, and then going after your dreams. Because I know a lot of people who will wait to say, oh, I'll do that in X number of years. But, why don't you just do it today in terms of setting up that dream and going for it? And, it might be overwhelming at first, but every baby step will lead to, big transformations. And when you're documenting the journey that you've gone on, you'll see how far you've come.
That's so good. And any books you would recommend on entrepreneurship or running a business in general? I know one that you already mentioned, and it's one of my favorites, which is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Any other gems that you have found to be extremely helpful or inspiring?
I also really like Brendan Burchard's High Performance Habits.
I'm listening to that right now, actually, in the car.
Very nice. And then, of course, Marie Kondo's books if you're interested in the KonMari method. And if you're interested in simplifying, Courtney Carver's Soulful Simplicity, it has some really nice tangible advice. And the growth mindset books, I think it's Angela Duckworth. I think that, those are some of my go-tos right now. And then I usually provide a list of resources as well when I work with clients if they want to look at more books outside of those.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica, for coming on the show, for sharing your insights about business, but also some of your passions and what you're doing. And I think it's just incredible. And I think a lot of people are going to find value not only from what you're doing, but just the experiences that you've been through. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, either just to learn more about entrepreneurship or your journey, or even to become a KonMari coach or consultant or do what you're doing, what's the best way to contact you?
The best way is to go to my website, clarifysimplifyalign.com, and reach out via there, the contact form, schedule a call, or email, which is jessica@clarifysimplifyalign.com.
Great. Thank you again so much. And I look forward to reconnecting a few months down the road to hear what you're doing and how you're growing and expanding your business.
Thank you, Tim, for your time.